Right. Happy Friday, everybody. Thanks again, everyone, for joining another PWA Studio Community Sync. Um, so today we have a couple demos from the team. We have a couple topics to run through just on kind of um, upcoming projects to help out the community. And then we'll take another look. I know we've done this before. We'll take a look at the roadmap, talk about what the team's currently working on, what the state is, and what's coming up, just to give everyone a good overview of that. And then we'll kind of wrap up from there. So, Stephen, if you want to get us started,
Oh,
hand it to
sure.
you.
All right. What am I demoing today? Um, okay. So I've been working the last few weeks. I know we've skipped a few demos. So this has been sort of stuff I've been working on since then. Um, you may have seen some of these PRs float by recently, which have to do with GraphQL and our cart and sensitive data that's stored within. Um, so the easiest way to show is to just show you what I'm going to be talking about. But when you check out in the new cart flow, we use GraphQL to make mutations and queries about cart data, and then we persist that in local storage. As you can see on my screen, here's the Apollo cache persist, which is a good representation of what's in the Apollo memory, like their internal memory. Which if you come over here and you look at the cache, this should match. Well, their dev tools sometimes don't align with what you're actually seeing in the cache, so that's why I like to just use the local storage view. But as you can see over here, I have a guest cart. I filled out some shipping information. I haven't yet selected a shipping method, even though there's only one option available. Um, but as you can see in the cache, we have a cart entry, and that cart entry has the email for the user, example, the shipping address that we've submitted. It's a cache key that references this in-memory address here or here. So all of this is sort of PII about the user that we're storing for display purposes, and so we have like a way to display the data render the data for the user if they refresh the page. We don't want to have to make another call to the server. You saw that was pretty fast for what was already filled out in the store. Obviously, if I'm a guest user, maybe I'm on a shared computer or something, or maybe I'm on a website I haven't used before. I'll have some information in checkout, and when I complete checkout, I want it to be I want all my data to be wiped, right? Obviously, if it's a shared computer, you wouldn't want your information accessible by some knowledgeable person, some technical person that might go snooping around local storage or some third-party script that's running on the client's page. So what my PRs do is they clear out this data. So and that happens in two ways. So first, we have made a bunch of changes to the way that we define our GraphQL calls and mutations, and I'm going to try and find some examples in here. So one thing we've done is anywhere that we have a mutation that takes the cart ID. So first of all that data that you saw in the store uh, is sort of accessible by the cart ID. So that's important to know. So if anybody has a cart ID and they make a query to your backend for cart information on a guest cart, they can get that information. Auth users, you have to have a bearer token, so that's a little bit safer. But still, like it's technically leaky, so we don't want to expose those cart IDs if we don't have to. So mutations throughout the app that take cart IDs now have to be now have to have a connection key, and we've just come up with some random key name for these. It's just the mutation name itself. So all the mutations you'll see that take card ID now have a key that replace their prior key. Before this, you would see in the cache place order with like open bracket card ID, and then you'd see the card ID in plain text right there. So Andy covered this a few weeks ago. This is just a way to sort of obscure that information from people snooping in the local storage or third-party scripts. And the same goes for cart for queries that reference cart data. So this is the cart query that takes a cart ID. And what we've done is every time we make a query for cart data, we just say that is going to reference a single entry in the cache keyed by the word cart. And so when you're looking back in local storage, you can see now that we only have one cart entry right here. These are just references that Apollo has made, but this is the main entry for cart. So the key there is that the key. Now that all the mutations and queries are keyed by those, we have a targetable thing that we can specifically delete in the cache. So I'll pull up my auth modal. So checkout's not fully done yet, so I'm just going to show you an example. But let's assume we're on a shared computer, and I've come here and I'm going to sign in as another user. When I sign in, we don't refresh the page, but you'll notice that the cache has just done a bunch of stuff and it's updated. There's a different card ID, there's a different email, different shipping address. There's no reference in the cache to the guest user's information that was filled out previously. Obviously, if they left the page open, it would be there, but it just clears out that information when a new user logs in. And it does that by these new functions, delete cache entry, that I created, and we're targeting the specific key of cart. And this $ cart is a bug I just ran into this morning. Apollo's in-memory is actually storing stuff, so I had to also target that. So that's basically, if you look, we'll a bunch of references to delete cache entry throughout the app. Anytime that we need to clear the cart, we're just going to target these cache keys, and this function will check the Apollo cache data, delete it, and then tell the persister to remember that deletion. So if I sign out again now, there was a cart there, but it had a bunch of data in it for that auth user. Now you'll see we have a new cart ID for the guest user, and there's no information. Obviously, there's nothing there for this that this user has done. Yeah, I feel like I just explained a lot, but that's pretty much it. Something else I guess I could show you is that you can see in this PR I've added a bunch of those deletions. Something we're doing now on the checkout page is identifying what step the user is on, and we're storing that in GraphQL's local storage. So if I go to checkout here, and I've signed in as this user, you'll see the first time that we load the checkout page as this user, even though I'm logged in and the cart has a bunch of data, there was sort of a cascade. I don't know if the video caught it, but there was a cascade of data where the GraphQL server or the client was saying, I need this. Each of these different cards was saying, I need this information to know that I have what I need to render in this card form. And then if I have it, then I'm good, so go to the next step. It's sort of automatic progression through checkout. So I'll show you again, I deleted the Apollo cache, so we're coming as if we came here from with a card ID and a user token, but no other Apollo data. It's going to cascade through each of those. But the cool thing is now we have, in the cart, we have a checkout step, and this is not coming from GraphQL. This isn't a field that you can access in GraphQL. And if you refresh the page, it's just going to open right back up to where you were, and there's no network calls. If you look right now, there's like 4 network calls. If I delete the Apollo cache entirely and refresh this checkout page, there's going to be a lot more network calls that get made to get all the data that we need to render this page. So just an example of using local state, local storage to persist something through GraphQL rather than using like React's use state or we're not using Redux for this either. the way I did this checkout step for the checkout page, in the checkout details query, this query is made when a user lands on the page, on the checkout page. Apollo does all their intelligent stuff. They check to see if they have the data in cache. If they don't, they make a network call. But here you can see, well, we have the connection key cart, and we also have this client directive that says that this checkout step is stored locally on in client data, and it should not request this from the server. And when you do that, you need to define a resolver for that data. So here is how we're getting that step. So we're just saying return what you have, or it's the first step. And you'll see I have a to-do here because we're kind of doing some messy logic where each of the individual components does a check to see if they have data. I can show you in shipping information. So here, shipping information says, do I have all the data I need? So does it have a city and was data in the cache? If so, call this onSave callback, which inside the use checkout page is basically this callback here. If I'm on shipping address, then set the step to the next one. And so this is why you saw that sort of waterfall effect. We loaded up the page. We didn't have anything in cache. We're on step 1. The shipping information Talon said, okay, I have the data I need now that I've got it back from GraphQL, so set the step to 2. Step 2 ran through the same process. It said, do I have the data I need? Okay, cool, set step to 3, and now we're on payment information. So I was just explaining that because that whole like roundabout logic could kind of just be done inside this resolver if we wanted to expose the step, that sort of logic, shipping data city to the checkout page. So that could be done right here. Just say if cart.shippingData and cart.shippingData city, then we know that we're on step 2, etc. I don't think I have anything else, and I feel like I've gone over a lot, but the PRs are up. We had a merged PR 2322 that was to clear the sensitive data. I realized in working on this PR 2354 that we weren't actually doing it correctly because of the way I had done some stuff with the persister. So if you want to check it out, you can see that, but this PR is still in progress 2354, and it just fixes how the persister was functioning. So yeah, that's it. Any questions? No? Everyone's asleep?
Or getting ready to go to sleep.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Talking through this, I realized that was a lot of stuff, but it's all very important. We want to make sure that nothing is exposed to a malicious user. So this is it's just better for security. Your clients will be happier. This is all good.
And I totally meant there, or getting ready to go to sleep, not because your content was boring, but because of the time zone difference. Just to clear that up.
Thanks. Yeah, I feel better.
So Lars said, very nice. We should create a blog post. Boom.
Yeah.
It's funny because I to do this, Apollo has some documentation about how to handle deleting cache data, and they don't seem to agree. Their docs kind of disagree with each other, and in the end, I had to scour their issues and find people that were like, well, this is what I had to do. So that delete cache entry function that you saw was kind of like a hacky method that we had to write to pinpoint those cache entries. But hopefully that function sort of obscures it enough that people can use if they need to delete specific things. And in the future, maybe Apollo Client 3 will come out and it'll just be easier. But yeah, I could consider writing a blog post. Or Andy is writing a blog post. Yeah, Andy did write a blog post about PII and stuff.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, we could. I could totally tack on.
Forgot about it.
Yeah, Andy, I could totally tack on some stuff about like the hackiness we had to do, if that's what we want to talk about.
Sounds
Sensitive
good.
information and hackiness. That's combination for a great blog post, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So,
Agreed.
okay, great. So, any other questions for Stephen on the two PRs that he demoed?
The cascading stuff looked really cool.
I honestly wish it didn't cascade though. Ideally it would just boom, you're on the right step. But
Yeah.
that's a little more logic in the checkout page than is necessary, or that I feel is necessary. Like right now, the checkout page doesn't know anything about its children. The steps that we've added, so people are free to add their own steps that they want. So,
That sounds like a good idea, yeah.
All right. So, that's it, I think, in terms of demo topics, unless anybody on the call has a specific demo they wanted to run through. Next up, I wanted to jump into the product roadmap really quickly, talk about where we are today, where we're going, and give everybody a quick overview of that. So let me pull that up. That is not it. So, everyone on the call should have seen this, should be familiar with this and have seen this before. We've talked about it on previous calls. What you're looking at is a view of the PWA Studio roadmap for 2020 overlaid on top of the GraphQL roadmap, obviously because there's a very tight dependency on the features that we're working on and the availability of GraphQL in that area. Over the first quarter, you've seen the progress from the team on not only launching page builder support, features like layer navigation, but the more recent work for the improved cart experience, and now with what the team is working on directly with the checkout experience. So all of those things are still are either complete or are close to being complete with checkout. Before we move on to the items that you see in that Q2 column, keep in mind that this roadmap view is expressed in terms of calendar year and calendar quarters, not Adobe's fiscal year and fiscal quarters, if you were following along and playing that game. So for Q2, right, the next kind of big feature that we have up in the pipeline is My Account. You'll start to hear more news from us on My Account and see more of the same types of demos we've done for kind of design and usability. Those studies are actually going on, I think, this week or beginning of next week. So at an upcoming demo, we'll get a good look at the design for My Account before the team starts implementing it, following the checkout work. And then, there have been a few questions, I think, in community Slack on, hey, where's the support for, bundled products, virtual products, downloadable products? That work is also staged for following My Account. If you're curious about kind of what's coming along in My Account, again, we'll have that demo coming up. And that's kind of the bulk of the work we're targeting for Q2, as well as just doing some minor cleanup on the mini cart experience that exists in Venue today. So that way we can make sure that mini cart, and checkout that we've all worked on over this last quarter are available in the app and present a cohesive shopper experience. So all of that will be landing or being started in Q2. And then further out there in Q3, obviously you see the items around internationalization. The good news there is, as everyone on this call is likely aware of, because we've had Chris Brabender here on the call demoing his PR for internationalization, is that he's given us a good head start in accelerating that work. We're looking at from a team perspective, how do we along with Zetlin, Jimmy, looking at how can we determine the next steps there and keep that thing moving forward. But it's good news there on everyone that's looking for that solution around multi-locale. And then we have some additional features that we've listed there in Q3 that we're targeting as well that are further out, still in the kind of research and design phase. So any questions on kind of the roadmap, where we're at, what we're working on, things that maybe anybody on the call from the community would like to see us working on that you don't see represented here? Awesome. So we are doing all the right things. Community loves it. Everybody loves us. That's the takeaway. Great. So let me stop sharing really quick. For Community Corner, Jordan could not make the call today. We do have Lars on the call. Lars, I don't think that you have anything particular to present for Community Corner, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I don't have anything to present. Yeah, Jordan and me are speaking about a couple ideas to set up a FAQ page or something like that. But yeah, it's currently nothing what we can present how it should look like, but yeah, maybe we can present something next week or in 2 weeks. But yeah, we're planning some things and starting a conversation there.
Yeah, I'm actually working on an FAQ page right now. I mean, there's nothing I can show, but I managed to curate some commonly asked questions. I'll probably have a draft PR so like anyone interested can take a look and contribute to the conversation and answers. So keep an eye on the PRs, I guess.
That's a great call out, and maybe we can, between James or Lars, start a quick thread in the community Slack. I think anybody in the community that generally has questions that are common questions that you've had or that you've seen in the community around PWA Studio, how to get started with it, how to develop on PWA Studio, that content is going to be great to help us inform what Jimothy is building into that FAQ. So if you have any of that feedback for us, please feel free to let us know. And we'll get this FAQ rolling. The other, I guess, reminder from a community perspective, I had it up there for a second, so let me pop it back on the screen. Just a quick reminder that if you're in the community and you're wondering, hey, how do I get involved with contributing to PWA Studio? We do have, within the GitHub repo, there are the projects, and the Git community backlog is the current project where we are keeping track of tickets that are currently either backlog, prioritized, in progress, etc., for the project. So if you're curious about picking up some work and contributing, a great place to start is this community backlog project in the prioritized column. You can reach out to Lars, you can reach out to Jordan, who can help direct you to getting started on contributing. If there's something on the board, not on the board, that you would love to see in the project, you can also create an issue within the project, and then we'll start. We have a weekly grooming session where we pull these things in, and they obviously make their way into the prioritized column. So that is also something that you can do. But if you have any questions on community contribution, how you can get involved in the project, reach out to Lars, reach out to Jordan, reach out to myself, and we definitely appreciate everyone that has been involved and will be involved in kind of contributing things back to us. So there you go. That's enough of me rambling. Anything else from anyone on the call? Any updates from your side, Zetlin? Any? I don't know if we have Jimmy on the call.
I mean, nothing that I have prepared, but I am super excited to start sharing through other means the documentation for the upcoming transforms and additional features to the extensibility system. I am pleased, I guess, to hint that we have more sophisticated extension concepts now, including the ability to do text modifications or abstract syntax tree modifications to any JavaScript file in the build, and to be able to target that from any dependency that has that file. Effectively, what that means is that you have the equivalent of DIXML injection in the Webpack build. And as we document it, that's going to become clear how to take advantage, but it's going to be cool. That's all I have for now. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Well, then we won't drag it out any longer. Thanks, everyone, for joining this week. We'll get the recording up later this afternoon. Everyone stay safe. Have a great weekend.
Awesome. Thank you.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.